All right. Well, I am glad to be with everyone tonight. We're all gathered together, missing a few, but hopefully they'll join us some midway. And if you're joining us, then we are looking at the movie Nefarious. It was came out in 2023. Um, Not a big budget film, but it made a bit of a splash in many of the religious sectors. So you can find it online. We're watching it tonight on a platform called Tubi. It's also on Amazon Prime at this moment, and you can probably find it just by looking at putting on Google and saying, "Where can I watch Nefarious?" So this is a dramatization about an interview with a demon, kind of like Screw Tape Letters, C.S. Lewis Screw Tape Letters, where we listen to Screw Tape as he talks about how he handles his patient. This one is the demon in the patient who's kind of outlining a plan. Um, and what we're really looking at is how this is what's being said, which is a lot of the theology in um, this drama it's impeccable. It's really well done. Um, and that's what's brought us to it. Now, just a little background. The word nefarious, which means not divine in the Latin, it's a knee fast, not and right. Fast is right or divine. And in the movie, he has a very long definition of nefarious, which we can come back to. This word is never used in the Bible. It's not a name, as we'll hear in the movie, and there's an explanation for that, which I think is really great. Um, it just means wicked or deceitful or bad. The word nefarious is used in the Bible in translations to mean exactly what it means. We use it now to mean wicked or have subterfuge. Say that I think his plans are nefarious, or he had nefarious plans. You can find it in novels and books and like that when we're using larger words. So it always is used now in the term as a wicked something. And so this is his name, the name that he takes. In the Bible, though, why is this important to us as Christians? Well, it goes back to one of these logical, the flow of things. So the flow of things in this case is that we believe that God became flesh, and that's Jesus. And Jesus came down here to live and did live as we lived, interacted as we interact. So he lived a normal life. He ate, he drank, he slept, he laughed, he joked, he got hurt. Always have a little satisfaction in my mind when I think about the boy Jesus skinning his knee, because I lived, and when I was a kid, perpetually with skinned knees. And he did that stuff. Mary, scooped him up when he was crying, and the whole shooting match. So he lived in his adult life, when we hear about him in Scripture, living into the reality that we live, living into the reality of life in his time in the first century. And we as Christians, we take the image of Jesus and the ministry of Jesus and the teachings of Jesus to be what they are. He's saying that this is the life that you are living, the difficulties that you're having are mediated by your relationship with me, by your receiving the blessings and the gifts that I'm giving you, the better understanding of life that I'm giving you, so that you may overcome, so that you may persevere. All these images and words are used in Scripture to live a better life, because life's hard. And he lived it, so he knows that. So all this, we all know all this, right? So we say, so we did all these miracles, and we're like, we celebrate the miracles and raising the dead and Lazarus and the blind and the lepers and all the healings and like this. And he did many of them, but he didn't do as many of those as the times that he mentioned fighting the devil or demons and liberating demons through exorcism. 55 times in the New Testament did he do that. So we can't take all this other stuff and say, okay, well, we're gonna, he really did these things, these miracles, but I don't think this is all. I don't believe in this. Just it's not, you can't really do it. You can't, if he's living his life and showing us that these are things that happen that he's going to overcome, and we're like, yeah, that's right. And then he shows us these things that we have to overcome, and we say, I don't believe that. It just doesn't work. So this is why films like this that look at these issues are important, because they begin to take this topic back. We begin to reclaim the topic, reclaim the reality of this, bring it back into the church, bring it back into our lives. People say, I don't want that in my life. Well, the problem is that according to Jesus, it's already in our life. It's in our life. It's all around us. We're dealing with it. We just don't know it and we don't recognize it. And remember the words of Screwtape, who said that he appreciated the person who spends too much time thinking about him absolutely as much as the people who don't spend any time thinking about him at all. Because in both places, he's got an inroad. You know, if you don't know the person's your enemy, if you're not looking for the enemy, then you don't see the enemy until it's too late. So that's the Screwtape's perspective. That's the way to look at it. So we need to be aware in a healthy way, in a strong way, have a strong position based on our faith, so that we can, when these encounters happen, one, recognize them, and two, know what to do with them. How do we overcome them? So I grabbed my Book of Common Prayer for Compline. We do Compline here in the house pretty much every night. And in the Compline service, on page 132, as you're saying we go through the Psalms, your introduction, your Psalms, you begin praying for the manners of life, for working and for resting. And when you get to the last prayer before the Lord's Prayer, it says, it's a quote of 1 Peter, be watchful, be sober, be watchful. Your adversary, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion seeking someone to devour. Resist him, firm in your faith. So this is a great example. It's in our prayer book. It's in every one of the services, in fact, in one way or another, where the prayer book authors or editors continue to put this in all the way back from 1549 when the prayer book started, over and over again, because it was commonly believed, has been the common belief of the church, the proclaimed belief of the church, that we are in conflict with evil forces and demons in our lifetime. The church fathers certainly spoke about this a lot in the first 5 centuries of the church. Augustine, of course, wrote about this a lot. It's just into the 19th century, really, the late 19th century and the 20th century, that it began to disappear. You know, we got modern. And when we got modern, everything started to get explained away. Oh, they're epileptics. They were epileptic. They had mental illnesses, and that's all this was. You know, he was just dealing with a mental illness. Well, I would agree with 100% if that's what he said. And if it was that, and he said that, we would all be saying that's what it is. But Jesus didn't say that. In fact, it was the exact opposite. So were there people in his time with mental illnesses and epilepsy and all? Sure, absolutely. But when he was dealing with this as an example in scripture of the life that we live, he was not dealing with people with mental illnesses and epilepsy, or that's the way he would have put it. That's what he would have said. So the church has always looked at this from his perspective, from the biblical perspective, as the apostles, when in their writings, also looked at it from that direction, and then the church fathers, and then the church et al. Looked at it. Right now, in our lifetime, it's a really big deal that the Roman Catholic Church has finally opened the doors and let everybody know that they have exorcists. They've had them all along, they never stop having them, and that they are constantly working. Now, they say that 60, 70, 80% of what they do is not a spiritual warfare encounter. It is really people who are mentally ill and have other problems, and they get them to they recommend doctors or places for them to go to. But that other 10, 20, 30%, they say is as actual and as real as it was in the biblical times, in Christ's times. And that's making a big splash right now in the media and like that. I don't know if it's because Christians actually believe it or if it's just kind of tantalizing, like a real live horror movie encounter type thing. People don't really believe it, but it's the Orthodox Church as well. Same continuity, same history. So we are embarking upon that a little bit tonight as we begin this program with Nefarious, taking a look at the in a dramatic way, the plans or the process of planning or the possibility of the way things might work, and that we don't see, that we're not aware of. So as we have in other programs, if you're joining us tonight, we're going to pause right here and watch the first about 25 minutes of the film. So maybe 25 minutes of the film. So you have to go watch it on your own, because if I can't show it here, or YouTube will pull it away. And then we'll be back. So I'm going to pause for us, and for you, it'll just be a minute. So we'll see you when you get back. Okay, we are back, and we stopped at the point where James wants to talk to Edward. You were watching along with us. Okay. What do you think so far?
You shouldn't have stopped it there.
Good.
A little bit freaky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
You wouldn't have any power over me unless it was given to me by my Father below.
Yeah.
Whew. Yeah, that's a pretty good quote.
But you can see how, from James' perspective, it's pretty harmless. I mean,
yeah,
he's a nutty guy going to be killed, and he's got twitches and, strange way of speaking, but you think that he's been on death row forever, and, he's mentally ill and everything else. So nothing out of the ordinary. Why was it important? What was important about the Alan? Was it Alan getting killed? The
first string.
Yeah. What was the whole scenario? What was going on in that beginning?
Well, he was finishing up some kind of report. I don't know what it was, and kept straightening his picture frame, but not stay straight. And then he went jumping off a building. That we're led to believe.
Yeah.
But he went in the elevator.
He went in the elevator, maybe to the roof. I guess we have to infer that he went up to the roof and then just went
Okay.
by his own window.
Yeah.
And maybe the possession that caused him to do it, or not a possession, is what kept making the picture get all skewed. But then it straightened up after.
Yep.
Bit of a jump scare there.
Possessed.
I was expecting more of that, but that's not so.
He was possessed. The guy
Well,
that killed
I don't think he was possessed, but he was definitely influenced by something.
Yeah.
Or some,
well, yeah, kill himself like that.
yeah. But do we believe that it was the demon possessing Edward that caused it? I don't know.
Maybe driving him crazy or insane.
Now, so remember that you've got a whole army of demons that are working together. So if one demon has got a target and is working on someone, then other demons are involved, helping to push,
Twisting him, that makes sense.
move things along. That's that old joke about the demon on one shoulder and the angel on the other, and the demon's constantly trying to get you to go do the thing. The thing. So a little bit more correct than just the joke. The old funny with the little guy. Everything
He said he wanted to kill him so that he could get James there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also probably because Alan was going to say, it was Alan, right? Alan, yeah. Alan was going to say that
Unfortunate.
he was crazy, and that means he wouldn't be able to be killed.
Yeah.
And he wants the body to be killed. He wants Edward to be killed.
It's ever gone, so he can move on to somebody else.
Yep. So he needed to get Alan out of the way.
So he found this guy, a more acceptable person to inhabit. He could do more with him.
And how would he know?
He's going to kill 3 people before the end of the night.
Yeah.
Because
How
he's gonna inhabit him and then go kill 3 people.
how would he know beforehand that James is the more preferred person?
Yeah, how would he?
He seemed to know a lot about James already, his background, and probably that he was an atheist.
So he'd been watching him, or
Well,
they
Or-
had been watching
Or
him.
the rest of the army of demons have been watching
Yeah.
him
yeah. If
and reporting back.
if Satan's attention is to get everybody to turn away from God, then everybody's being worked on. I mean, it's a great Rolodex, right? That's what Screwtape says. That's what C.S. Lewis and Screwtape says. Screwtape says we know everybody. We have. Remember when he's talking when his patient's falling in love with that girl and going over to the house, and Screwtape comes back and is really mad with Wormwood because he lets him go in the house, and he sits there in that letter and rattles off all of these particulars about the girl and her mother and the friends and all this stuff. He knows everything. Rector, he said, I have a dossier in front of me about this female and what a simpering, and he goes on about her because she's so holy that he hates her. So yeah, if one, then many. You know, that's that whole idea of legion. Legion wasn't simply the 20, 25 demons in the person. Legion is all of the demons working in concert for the same purpose.
What did he say? He had to invite him in five times? Is that what he
I
said?
don't remember that.
He had to invite him in a
Right.
certain number of times.
Yeah, he has to be willing to do it. So the description was beautiful. I mean, perfect. That it's not simply you're walking down the street, minding your own business, whistling an old tune, and you're suddenly possessed and going to murder somebody. This is a process that he said, we started this in the crib. We started this, at 3 years old. We started this at 5 years old. We've been doing this his whole life.
People said it's just Edward being Edward.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be easier to get an atheist?
Well, what made him an atheist? If he's got a demon working on him, then he is exactly what they want him to be.
Yeah.
Well, does an atheist not believe in the devil, same as they don't believe in God?
Right.
No.
They don't believe in anything.
Mhm.
An agnostic believes that there's some higher power, some divine entity, whatever that is, I don't know. But there's something. Atheists don't believe anything. There's nothing.
They already don't believe in God. It seems like that would be an easier mark.
Yeah.
For a demon.
Sure. Yeah. So it would be if you follow the logic backwards, it's the demons that helped him it led him in his life to become an atheist.
Yeah.
Right. So it's all connected. If you look at the particulars of the events for Alan when he's about to do it, because we didn't know he's going to jump until he jumps. Like he's going home. I thought he was going home. He put all his stuff in his briefcase.
Yeah.
So what the little particulars in there are that he is doing his normal thing. This is a normal event. Everything's normal. There's nothing extraordinary. He's not freaking out. He's not despondent. He's just doing the normal thing. And he's going over to the picture. My impression is that if the demon wants the picture turned to the side, it's because the demon wants Alan to keep looking at it, to keep going to it, keep going over there and fixing it, keep going over there and fixing it. If he's going over and fixing it, it means he's looking at it. You ever have a painting or a picture in your house that you've walked by 50 times and you haven't realized it's crooked?
Yeah. Until
the other person in your house says, hey, or they fix it, and you look at them and they're fixing it. You're thinking, crud, I never even saw that.
Yeah.
But Alan is obviously looking at his own diploma over and over and over again, that he's going over and fixing it all the time. So the demon's keeping him focused on himself, on his self, on his value, on his education, on his authority, on who he is.
He's questioning himself.
Yes. So when he goes up to the roof the implication is everything is normal. He's packing his stuff, he's moving his diploma, he's getting on the elevator, he's punching the up button instead of down, he's walking out on the roof, he's stepping off the roof. Just normal. Not extraordinary at all. What's extraordinary, or what is the sad part about it, is why did he scream on the way down? Because
Scream.
Reality, the realization.
Yeah. Whatever was done to get him to step off the roof is taken away during the fall. That would bring the demon a lot of joy to experience his terror on the way down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know, we hear about people who do things that aren't drunk and aren't on drugs and like that, and they come to themselves at the end of it. Like, what did I just do? How did I do that? There seems to be an absence of perspective or attention in the moment. It just disappears. And it comes back afterward. And the afterward is always horrible. The realization of the action is always horrible. And questioning. Some people say, you know, it's crimes of passion and things like this, you know, things where you get crazy in the moment, you get out of control. And then after you do whatever the terrible thing is, suddenly you're lucid again. You're fine. And there's all these biological reasons for that to happen. I think that they're suggesting here that there are also other reasons that might happen beyond just a biological response. So Alan was just a pawn to get to Jimmy. Had to get out of the way. And I know we're running late now because we spoke a lot. Was there another section of this, of the beginning, that caught your attention?
I don't know if it was a section, but it was a line that Edward said. I even wrote it down. He said, "We're going back and forth about who each other was," and Edward says, "I am who I say I am." And I kind of thought about the whole Yahweh thing. I am who I am.
Good.
I don't know if there was anything there, but I kind of caught that.
Yeah. It's his.
Not the exact words, but it's similar.
Well, he's taken the authority to be who he is. He's not saying to James, you know, as you begin to understand who I am, your opinions, your ideas, your perspective doesn't mean anything. Because this is me. I know what I am.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what you think. How about the priest?
Very, very Irish. Or Scotch or whatever it is.
I thought so. So you have him. So he's coming in, and when he comes in, Nefarious starts freaking out until Lou comes over to the table to sit down. So you have a definite change. So the Nefarious response to the priest is the same response that the demons had to Jesus. They recognized it. They didn't want him near them. He was dangerous. He could hurt them. He could send them away. So if we have not just priests, if we have the authority from Christ to fight demonic forces, then they don't want us to have that. That's not good for them. That actually, you know, when you think about the Hollywood movies, I think Linda Blair and The Exorcist, you know, formed right up. It's filmed right off M Street. I used to go to the gas station. Remember that when he fell down those huge steps? That's the steps that come down right to M Street in Georgetown, Washington, D.C. So remember, you know, the priest would go in there and do all these hocus pocus and say all this stuff, and it wouldn't do any good. She'd like laugh and spin her head around in a circle and vomit green junk on him. You know, there's a lack of ability within and there's all these explanations why that is. But the simple truth is that whether he's a priest or not, the potential that he was able to cause pain came from his relationship with Christ, with God. You know, he talked about Christ in there, didn't he?
I think so.
Yeah. So that's where the authority is coming from until Lou opened his mouth. And then look, Nefarious finds out that he is as corrupt as anybody. He's saying this doesn't exist. So no fear now. He's not endowed with the power. He doesn't have the authority. He doesn't have the relationship. He's sanitized it and made it his relationship. This is the way I see my relationship with God. And when I see my relationship with God this way, I'm going to get to decide what God looks like, so that I can have a relationship with that entity. I was in the conversation today for about an hour with someone who was talking about exactly this, about people say, well, I get angry at God and I can yell at God and scream at God. And I propose that to people. I say, if you're really angry and you're really frustrated and you scream at God, God can take it. But that's just the first step in understanding or moving toward understanding. There's no getting mad at God is senseless. It's like getting mad at a tree. A tree is a tree. It's out there and it's blocking the sunlight. I can't get mad at a tree.
How dare you, tree?
Yeah, it's a tree. A tree is a tree. It does what it does. It's there because it's there, and it's just a fact. Like Nefarious was saying, we deal in facts. God is just a fact. And when God doesn't do something we want, it's not because God is doing something wrong. It's because our expectation or our demands are just off center. And we don't understand that. This is the hard part. I don't understand why the thing that I want isn't the thing that God wants. And so God must be wrong. So I'm mad at God and I'm offended by God and I'm going to tear up at God because God needs to do what I want God to do because I'm right about this. So that kind of frustration and anger is completely understandable and it needs to be exercised. No pun intended. Exercise means get rid of it. Get rid of it and move on to the next stage. The next stage is realizing and recognizing what the truth is. And the truth is God's a tree. Okay, there's no sense to get mad at a tree. I use the example as if you go out, I stand under the tree and I say, tree, cover me with your leaves so I don't get any rain on me. And then the tree doesn't have leaves because it's winter. And the rain comes and I get all ticked off at the tree because it didn't put leaves out there in a matter of seconds and cover me over so I wouldn't get wet. That's just silly. It's just silly. The tree is doing what the tree does in a much larger sense with a much larger capacity than I have and than I think of, at least in that moment. So getting mad at the tree is just senseless. Yeah. The relationship we have with God is much, much deeper, much more profound than our small ways of looking at relationships, like it's a relationship with my sister or my wife or my child or my friend. And this is the growing edge, right? This is the place where we're trying to move our focus from how we understand our life and relationship to be over to God, where that doesn't work. It doesn't fit. So we've got to change the parameters. And this is why Jesus said, you have got to come to know me. You have to know me. You know everybody else, but you have to know me because it's different. Your relationship with me is your relationship with God, and that's different from everybody else. It's the same, but it's different. It's more intimate, but it's different. It's just different. And I think they're touching on this in Nefarious because the relationship that Nefarious is proposing to Jimmy is that this whole thing is different. That's why he said about developing the relationship with Edmund. Is it Edmund? Edward. Edward. It took a whole lifetime for that to happen. So he's explaining this relationship was progressive and kind of covenantal. That at some point in time in Edward's life, he began to consciously turn toward them to make that. But even if he realized there was something there that he could gain some advantage from, he did not understand the relationship. It was much more than he thought it was, and it was to his detriment that it happened. Oh, let's see. Gotta go. Jimmy successful. Oh, why did he talk about the autopsy? It sounded like a really silly thing, didn't it?
I have no idea what he was getting on there.
Yeah. Why? Why would he do that? I mean, it's like he knows the answer to all these questions.
Mm.
It's just a strange line of conversation. But can you look at it now from the larger discussion that he's having? What's unfolding? It's actually happened in a big way right there, right before we ended. What was unfolding from the very minute Jimmy walked in that door until the moment we cut this off? Where was he trying to get Jimmy to go? It was to say, come on in.
To let him in, yeah. Or to invite him in, or whatever that phrase was.
All the whole conversation, if you think back on it now, when we get off this, you can think about it. The whole process, the whole progress of the conversation was funneling Jimmy to that place of agreement by making everything harmless. This is just harmless. That's why Jimmy went, okay, come on, here I am. It's harmless. Nothing can happen. Everything's okay. I can say whatever I want. So this idea of the organs as a conversation, what are they trying to do? It gives Jimmy, for just a moment, James, I'll be more respectful. It gives James just a minute to be that conciliatory counselor that's saying to him, why would they do that? Almost like he's afraid or he's unsure. And then Jimmy comes back and says, oh, well, this is why. I know what's going on. Let me tell you what's happening here. I can figure it. So he's allowing Jimmy to rest on Jimmy's abilities to be the superior person in the room, on and off through the conversation. He gives it, he takes it away. He gives it, he takes it away. He gives it, he takes it away. And each time he does, Jimmy feels more and more better and better about the whole thing until he gets to this point where he's throwing his hands up and saying, come on, take me. I'm yours. Go ahead and do it. Because he feels like he can. He's in charge. He's been in charge since he walked in the door. I love the comment about this name in Petrus, the rock. It wasn't a name until Jesus made it a name. It just means rock. I started calling him Peter, Rock, Petrus. New name, wasn't a name before.
Names are important. Names are very important.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yes. In every exorcism, one of the main goals is to find out the name of the demon, because it's that important. Absence, he said, it's a process, it's a series, and it all the more advantage with the absence of baptism. Did you catch that part? So Edward was not baptized, and so that gave him the inroads: extreme temptations, subjugation, and possession. Subjugation is when he is on his own, but for his strength, he's turning to them. He's subjugated, and he recognizes the advantage of turning toward the evil. He may not think of it that way because he's an atheist. It's not evil. It's just him. It's just me making my decision. And I know that if I do this, I'm gonna get what I want, because I've done this kind of thing before and I've gotten what I want, and it's me. It's my power. But it's not. So when he does that, he basically is just giving himself over, saying, "Okay, I will take this from you for my advantage." It's an implicit agreement, and it gets worse. And that's all we got, and we're over time. 15 minutes. You guys are always so gracious about going over time. Do you have anything else you want to?
We don't think it's overtime, because this is really just what we expect the time to be.
That's good. Do you have anything you want to throw at this before we call it a night?
Can't wait for next week. Any
famous last words? I guess I shouldn't put it that way, should I?
How can I keep myself from watching it, finishing it?
Yeah, you have to. That's a good idea. So So now you have been tempted.
Yeah.
Here we go. I love the full circle here. This is right back to, okay.
Right.
So what are you going to do
I'm
with
with waiting.
Very, very well played.
All right, guys.
Are
I
you,
pray that
do you
you
know
have
what you're doing for Lent yet? That was my question.
I think I'm going to do the shack.
That's
Okay.
what I thought you were gonna do.
What's the shack?
It's a book, became a movie. I have not seen the movie. I've been wanting to see the movie, so I figured this is a good time. I have heard that is, aside from being the details of the shack book, obviously, you know, that's usually where it falls apart, that it stays really true to what the shack was about.
Yeah, but the book's better.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's really the imagery that I'm looking at. The imagery, the image, it's the image of God. The image and action of God. And the book does a marvelous job of pointing back to us. It was a very divisive book, very divisive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I did it the first time, when I did the group the first time, I had two people who left the group and said, I'm not going to do it. And
Yeah.
I know why they left.
This was.
But
I think I know who one of those was, but I don't remember the second one.
yeah.
I was gonna do the
second
group.
one was a little quieter than the first one.
Yeah, I was gonna do the group, but someone said, don't do it, don't do it. And so I didn't. But then later on I read it and I thought, well, darn it, I wish I'd done it.
Yeah. Yeah, it has a real power to move us back to ourselves, to understand who God is.
Get it, Alan, and read it before Lent.
Will do.
All right, guys.
I didn't do the last study either, so I guess I don't know. It'll have to be the movie because I'm not going to have time to read it. So.
Yeah.
I'll have to hurry. Ash Wednesday.
But I do want you to do God's Not Dead. Maybe we can do that as our next Wednesday thing.
Yeah, we can do that after Easter. Look at doing it then.
Or maybe next Lent.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, I really like that movie, and I feel like it has a lot of, like, when you have discussions with people, it gives you a lot of proof. I don't know. So it's, and I want to understand it better so that then when I get challenged, I can respond.
Yeah. And that's good. That's what they were looking for when they made that movie.
Yeah.
They're trying to do.
So, okay.
All right, guys. I pray that you all have a wonderful night, a peaceful rest, and that you wake up all excited about doing what God needs you to do.
All right. Bye.
Everybody have a good week. Bye, Mom.
Bye.